Welcome back to Miss Fox backed this game on Kickstarter, and now you all have to hear about it. I really should find a shorter name for this video series. In this episode, I'm talking about the recently released Advent Neon. Unlike the previous Kickstarter project I covered, I actually had an idea of what this game would look like before it launched. In this game, you play as Neon, a green robot with electrical abilities who's trying to revive their dead father. You'll run through the districts of Neopolis, with the first acting as a sort of tutorial, and the remaining driving the story before you unlock the final world. Each district houses a robot guardian at the end of the fourth act, and each guardian's boss fight serves as a climactic finish to said district. Just by looking at the character art, you might assume that Advent Neon is inspired by the Sonic the Hedgehog series, and while there are some clear inspirations in Neon's abilities and attitude, gameplay-wise there's a more prominent combat focus than you might expect. Neon is equipped with light attacks, break attacks, a dash, and later special attacks, so while there are plenty of high-speed sections, there's also an equal number of sections where you'll be locked into a room with enemies to take down. Learning the intricacies of combat is essential to improving in Advent Neon. Neon's dash also acts as a dodge. With correct timing, dashing through an enemy attack will freeze time and turn the first standard attack you input into a break attack. Break attacks are powerful hits that usually send enemies careening in the direction you hit them, bouncing off walls and dealing collision damage to other enemies. With good timing, you can also use a break attack to parry oncoming attacks and projectiles. Break attacks and dashes are both sustained by a 2-segment meter. Dashes cost 1 segment, while break attacks cost both segments, so neither ability is easily spammed. Once you've gotten the hang of combat, you'll have a lot of options at your disposal. By keeping long-running combos without getting hit, you'll build up resonance. Getting to max resonance increases the chance that Neon's attacks will deal triple damage as a critical hit, and it also allows you to fire off an unblockable special move. I did, admittedly, struggle with combat at times. The audio and especially visual effects would often layer on top of the enemies, making it a bit harder to see their telegraphing and time my dodges correctly, but perhaps that means I'm playing too aggressively. Truthfully, when I was playing this game, I thought a lot less about Sonic the Hedgehog and more about some indie games inspired by the series. I felt a little bit of Freedom Planet in the way that combat is more integrated into the core game, but Freedom Planet generally retains a lot of Genesis Sonic's movement philosophy and branching level design. The game I brought the most comparison to was the first Spark the Electric Jester. Both Spark and Neon have high speed sections, and they both also utilize a lot more combat abilities than you might initially expect. I think my biggest complaint about the game is its movement. Don't get me wrong, when the game is going at high speed, it feels excellent. There's so many big action set pieces, and the final rush to the boss elevator in Act 4 is always thrilling. The complaint comes in whenever movement is slowed down. Neon feels a bit too stiff at low speed, especially their jump, which feels heavy. They can also feel really sticky on walls, making it really difficult to get them off of a wall slide or wall run. Holding the opposite direction doesn't unstick them, and jumping may just stick them to a parallel wall. I don't think this takes too much away from the core experience, so I hope you understand this is a minor complaint. Advent Neon is the kind of game that gets better the more you play it, which is both an incredible strength and a possible detriment. Neon is able to buy upgrades in the shop after beating the first district. These upgrades increase the number of hits you can take, boost gameplay flow by allowing you to more easily build and keep resonance, and even grant new abilities. Grabbing even a handful of upgrades after the opening 4 levels really enhances the game feel, which does open the question of how the game feels at the start. I think upgrades that modify the gameplay experience can be good in a lot of games. So things like giving Neon extra shield points, modifying their dodge to deflect projectiles, or increasing the value of nodes feel like worthwhile upgrades to pursue throughout the game. However, upgrades that directly affect the game's flow, like boosting dash recharge speed or resonance intake, means that you're starting the game with intentionally kneecapped game feel. There's always some degree where opening levels are going to feel more difficult because you're still getting used to the game, but I think in this instance, the first impression is hampered here. The intentionally slowed dash recharge is, I think, an especially ill-considered decision because it makes the dash feel more awkward and less useful. Again, as soon as you get past the first 4 levels, you'll already have enough nodes to buy upgrades to improve the gameplay and really open up your abilities. But that's assuming the player sticks with the first 4 levels. Story-wise, the game has a bit of Mega Man flavor. You're up against an antagonistic scientist, and you have to defeat her robot guardians before you can finally face off against her. Interestingly, you start off in the middle of an ongoing story, with Neon's father already having been killed by an unseen enemy. The game does a good job of building up the intrigue, and the main characters feel fleshed out, like they have a personal history together. There were a couple times where the characters seemed to make reference to events that seemed like they might have been in some other story that I hadn't seen. But I don't think that's often enough where anyone should feel lost. I really like the aesthetics of the game. All the characters feel very uniquely designed, and I enjoy the futuristic vibes of the world. There's also a fair bit of humor to the game. Neon is, themselves, a snarky protagonist with a bit of an attitude. You can also clearly tell the developer loves memes. The meme that caught me by surprise was the that would sometimes come out in the middle of a combo. It made me smirk every time. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with Advent Neon, and I'm glad I backed it. I hope this game saw enough success to warrant a sequel because I think it could be a promising start to an amazing indie series. There's definitely a lot more to see within the world and a lot of ideas that can be expanded on. Spark the Electric Jester went 3D with its sequels, and that does sound appealing for a Neon sequel. But I'd be just as excited to see them continue down the 2D platformer brawler path, refining that movement to an even sharper point and building on the already incredible powers at Neon's disposal. With all of that said, that's where this video ends. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll watch the next video. And thank you so much to CryoGX for creating such a wonderfully frantic game.